Okay, Mayor, we're ready when you are.
Okay, great. I'd like to call to order this meeting of Salem City Council Boards and Commissions Appointments Committee for Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. I'm Julie Boyd.
Vanessa Nordyke.
Shane Matthews.
And I'm Deanna Gwynn, online for a while.
Okay, great. Thank you, Councilor Gwynn.
And I'm Councilor Nishioka sitting in case Deanna needs to step away.
Okay, great. Thanks for being here. All right, public comment. Do we have folks signed up?
We do, Mayor. We have two. First on the list is Kate Strachty, and you're welcome to come on up if that's easiest. And we'll time the 3 minutes.
We might have Kyle go first, actually.
Oh, forgive me, of course. Kyle,
Okay.
Kyle, you're welcome to
And
go
how do
first.
you like your public comment? Do you want me to sit down, stand up?
Whatever you want.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. Sit. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members and attendees. My name is Kyle Colleen Black, and I'm here to discuss the matter of removing a person with a criminal history from the Community Police Review Board. First, I would like to speak about what second chances actually mean in Marion County, not in theory, but through its actions. The concept is displayed in public messaging, mission statements, and in community programs. I have attended the Marion County's Reentry Initiative fundraising events for the past 3 years, and I am sure that the sponsors and the financial donors believe that what you say is what you mean and what you are practicing. Somewhere between the slogans and the process, the second chance belief has unspoken limitations based on discrimination and exclusion. Stemming from hypocrisy, secrecy, and hostility, this meeting was organized by a concerned individual about the safety and integrity of the Community Police Review Board, which we know was created in response to misconduct, deception, and scandal. A formerly incarcerated person is perfectly qualified for a board that was created to oversee criminal activity. The board was created to identify biased opinions, deceptive actions, and secret activity, which is exactly what occurred to convene this meeting. In transparency and full disclosure, the board's criteria was met, and a person with a criminal history was accepted and appointed to work in collaboration with the police and community members to expose corruption. Personal opinions and unacceptance have been allowed to overshadow the intentions of the review board. I personally can't decide which is more disgusting, that Salem promotes its belief in second chances but really doesn't, or that a meeting to discuss a board created to eliminate wrongdoing was convened in a less than ethical way. Contradictions exist within the city of Salem and the county of Marion when the programs and activities that you create to equalize people's opportunities don't exist, and when corruption is allowed in the process of reviewing misconduct. The irony that upstanding citizens would reduce themselves to unethical behavior to slander someone with a past is not lost on me, and I hope that it is not lost on the members of this meeting. I also have brought along with me to keep here the restoration rights of Oregon, the reentry initiatives from Marion County for the past 3 years, an article where Kyle Hedquist was featured, and also a gentleman who was formerly federally incarcerated, who is now the assistant superintendent of the Bureau of Prisons. And I would also like to read something that Mr. Hedquist himself wrote. Mayor Julie Hoy, Councilor Nordyke, Councilor Nishioka, Councilor Gwynn, and Councilor Varney. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced any of those. Thank you for the opportunity to serve on this important board. I have enjoyed working with the city, fellow board members, and the Salem Police. During my tenure, I have participated in 2 ride-alongs with Salem PD and have enjoyed the conversations with officers. I would like to continue my participation and offer my perspectives on CPRV issues.
I apologize, your time is up. We'll let it roll for an extra 10
Okay.
seconds.
All right, that's okay.
And just so you
have that.
know, I did, his letter was submitted via email this morning,
Okay.
and I have printed copies.
Okay.
And have it right here. for
Okay,
folks.
and I also did submit mine online as well.
Yes,
with
it is
the
printed
backup
here as
materials.
well.
But
So-
and the backup materials are there?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
all
they're
right,
all
thank
right
you.
here.
Thank you for the
so much.
opportunity.
Kate, yeah.
Okay. I apologize, this is a little sensitive to me because it is my husband. So it's not personal, but it is personal for me, so. Sorry, it is personal.
Okay, you can.
It's upsetting, but. My name is Kate Strathy and Kyle Hedquist's wife, speaking on agenda item 3A. Today, Kyle Hedquist is speaking at a National Justice Reform Conference while we are in Salem discussing the removal from a volunteer board in his area of expertise. But this hearing is not about Kyle, it's about a pattern of legal discrimination because this is not a protected class. It's about intimidation that undermines the very purpose of the board. The board was created in response to police misconduct and wrongful convictions, like Jesse Johnson's case where Salem police in 1998 framed a Black man for murder, and he spent 25 years in prison. And this isn't about safety, it's about silencing someone who understands the system too well. Kyle works for Oregon Justice Resource Center, home of the Oregon Innocence Project, the same group that helped exonerate Jesse Johnson. I believe the city police and some lawyers do not want his expertise on an oversight board. I believe he may provide actual oversight. And I question, would you create a board about homelessness and exclude a homeless community member from the board? I don't think you would. Kyle was appointed over a year ago and had no issues, and he's been fully transparent about his past. 5 current city councilors, including the mayor, unanimously voted for him to join this position in May of 2024. He's met every obligation, attended meetings when quorum allowed, and has upheld the confidentiality of this position. I believe the proposal for his removal is being facilitated by, I'll just say, several different actors, including the police member on the board. This is important because if the police feel threatened by a person who committed a crime 30 years ago and is a productive member of society, I question how safe I feel with the police being unbiased in the community. How would officers approach the homeless community on the street if there are such biases? Kyle's uniquely qualified for this board. He's lived every stage of the criminal justice system, then now works in reform. He's a mentor, a volunteer, graduate of U of O, and an advocate for those reentering society. His daily acts of service are an embodiment of civic engagement. The city went around about this process with closed-door conversations, calling each board member to ask if they're okay with his murder conviction from 1994, not including Kyle in any part of the process or conversation, and not informing him of the exact date and time of the hearing about him. There are 6 carceral facilities in Salem with Salem addresses. The formerly incarcerated and their families are your constituents and they can vote. If you vote to remove Kyle from the board, you're showing formerly incarcerated residents the best of them is still not good enough. And I wonder how much punishment is enough. This isn't about Kyle. It could be any person with a record in his place today, and they face the same struggles every day when they apply for a bank account, an apartment, a job, or buy a car. And I firmly believe this hearing is about some internalized biases and prejudices held by people in positions of power. And I question how those biases translate into other decisions. And I ask you to please consider all public comment before voting and consider what your vote truly means to the community. Thank you.
Mayor, it might be good to note we have additional written public comment that the board has received as well, that you've received via email, and then we also have hard copies here for everybody as well.
Thank you. Thanks for providing all this. You have, what'd you
I
need?
already read them.
Okay. All right. Gosh, a couple of questions came up in the testimony. Is it okay if I ask questions about that? Was Mr. Hedquist not informed about meetings, or was there a closed door meeting that took place?
No, I had reached out to update Mr. Hedquist of the process and that we were going to be reaching out to the board members in preparation for the meeting and that was the result of the past meeting. And if it helps to recap, over the spring, summertime, in reviewing our Salem Revised Code, I recognized that the code says that you shall consider criminal history. And I realized as the liaison, I'd not been doing that. And I don't think my predecessor had been doing that. We just hadn't been providing you with criminal history, but the term shall doesn't really leave wiggle room. And so what I did was correct that. You might remember a quick update to you at a previous meeting where it's like, okay, I'm gonna need to begin a process to conduct criminal history. So the last applications had not asked those questions and we had not conducted that background. So then, and that's staff oversight. I take responsibility for that. So then we conducted the criminal history and we asked all of the seated members and then all of the applicants to submit to a records request, and everybody did. And so then the remarkable background here we brought to your attention at the last meeting. And then what you might recall is as you received and considered that background, you asked what was the comfort level of the members of the Community Police Review Board given that. And so what I did, we did not convene a board meeting of CPRB for group conversation. I understood the direction to be to query the members. So what I did was call and ask each member and provide them, this is the background, this is the sentence, this is the commuting from Governor Kate Brown and the appointment, and the boards and commissions asked just a yes or no on comfort. And then I collected that tally. And so there's 9 total people in the universe of it, but didn't ask Kyle his view on it. So then it came out 4 and 4. So 4 members expressed comfort with having Mr. Hedwitz continue on the board, and 4 expressed discomfort with having them serve. And I didn't write down who said what or any other comments. I just simply made a tally. So that's here today. It's an information item just to make sure that we're bringing forward the information for you for your consideration. Yeah, and so just wanted to provide that.
Thank you.
But I didn't mean to cut you off if you have
No,
further
thank you.
questions. Yeah.
You answered that and then some.
Oh, good.
Anyone else have questions?
So it's safe to say that when he filled out his application in the year 24, I believe, the application form didn't ask applicants to disclose criminal history. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that moving forward, that would be something that we could simply amend the form, because it would be important to see who self-discloses. I think it makes sense that the staff would still conduct that background check, because, you know, I've served on CPRB and a background check seems pretty routine for me. But it's always helpful to see who is willing to be forthright about their history. And so anyway, that would just be my recommendation moving forward. And I mean, we've already had a separate audit indicating how short-staffed we are, Gretchen. There should be 4 of you according to our performance auditing team, but we only have just 1, to my knowledge. And so, I mean, I understand exactly where you're coming from, and it's certainly an unusual situation. From what you're telling me, there's 9 members of CPRB, 4 were opposed, but 4 would be fine with it. And I'm assuming the 5th person would be Mr. Hedquist, and I'm going to go out on a limb here based on his own testimony that if it came down to a vote of their board, he would stay on narrowly. Is that fair to say? I mean, that's what it sounds like to me.
I think all would be correct, except I wouldn't want to conjecture or characterize what a vote of the board would be, because I pulled them individually. I can't say that they have collective action. They didn't benefit from group conversation.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Those are my questions for the time being.
For the record, and to keep us current.
Yeah,
Where are we at in his term?
thank you. His term actually would conclude at the end of this calendar year, but he would be eligible to serve another term should this group want to reappoint.
And to be clear, the council is the appointing authority. You make recommendations to council.
Thank you. That's good to know. So this body couldn't remove him even if we were to try and make a motion. We could at best make a recommendation if this body wanted to do that. Okay,
That's correct.
great. Thank you. Gretchen, now that you've conducted the criminal history, did you observe any, has he had any history since then? Or is this one conviction that's about 30 years old?
No history since then, and he was forthcoming in the questions of the
Okay.
history,
Okay.
which was accurate. What he shared was matched what the records check demonstrated.
Okay, no, I think that's important. That's a sign of integrity for sure. Thank you.
So let's just assume for a second this was a new application and we were assessing it for the very first time. And we had seen this criminal background check come back. Would this have been something that staff would have recommended that we appoint or not appoint?
I know, that's a fair question. At the last meeting, we offered criteria which could support a do not appoint, and this would have fit that. But it's, your role is shall consider.
Gotcha.
And so if I can maybe explain the criteria for appointment, they're not yes or no answers to any of those criteria. There are factors for you and for council to consider. Criminal history is one of them. So it's not as simple as, yes, they meet this or no, they don't.
Yeah.
The criteria that the commission looked at during the last meeting talked about the seriousness of the offenses, the time, how close in time the offenses were and things like that. And based on that criteria, applying to these facts, the staff's recommendation would be denied.
So the only question, it doesn't even seem like there is a question because I don't see an action item on here actually, but I guess the only question would really be is the question of would we want to recommend having him removed from the board currently or allow him to finish out the remainder of his term, which it sounds like it's a full one, and then he'd reapply like everyone else. Is that correct?
Those would be choices, yeah.
I mean, I'll give my opinion when it comes to what we should do in this current term. I don't see a reason to remove in this current term. I would think that we found it on the criteria that we had at that time. We appointed him on the criteria we had at that time. So it'd be my opinion that finish out this term and just like everyone else reapply the next term.
I agree. You know, and to me, I'm when he reapplies, which I assume he will, you know, I'm pretty I find the testimony was really noteworthy. This is an individual who has paid his debt and has, you know, followed all of the rules and has stayed out of trouble ever since. And as best we can tell, has been focusing on redemption, on serving the criminal justice community in an effective way. So, you know, I understand why it's a factor and not a hard and fast rule, because I've served on CPRB. And if you've never had any interactions with a police officer, it's hard to, you know, you're charged with reviewing what those officers did in the moment. And so lived experiences can be really helpful, and having a diversity of experience. You know, having people with a police background can be helpful. Having people who've been arrested can be helpful. So, you know, I mean, I think that there's no higher crime in this state than murder. I mean, we have to be realistic about that too. Even if it was 30 years ago, it won't be an easy decision, but, you know, I do feel that what people do in the time that is given to them after such a heinous act is also worth pointing out too. So I'm with you, and I mean, they may not even have a meeting plan between now and the end of the year anyway. Do they have any meetings planned?
We do, we have,
Okay.
oh wait, the board I've not yet scheduled, but this group would return again in early December, and Mr. Hedquist has indicated interest in being reappointed. So that would be a question before you as you consider the appointments.
Mm-hmm. well, I'm not in favor of removal today, like my colleagues here have indicated, but it sounds to me like, you know, we're going to have to make a really thoughtful choice in the future, so.
Deanna, did you have anything?
No, I agree with what's been said so far in that I think it would be incredibly unjust to remove someone who's been an active member of the board. I just, you know, it just stinks that the criteria is different now. So I just think it's a tough call.
It's not
Just to
different.
clarify, the criteria has remained the same.
Yes.
We're just not applying that criteria because we were unaware of it in the past.
Mhm. So moving forward,
So we don't need a recommendation, Mike, am I right about that?
There's
Correct.
no
Okay.
proposed action.
okay, anything further?
Nothing the same.
I appreciate the testimony today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. And as a formerly incarcerated person, it does matter the evaluation of our crime, but it also does matter the evaluation of the life lived after that crime as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to the Hispanic Advisory Board.
Talk you through that,
That
Mayor?
would be great.
If you
Thank
like. Yeah, of course. So you may remember a couple of meetings ago, we had public testimony from a community member, Jonathan Castro Monroy, who brought forward a concept around the Hispanic Advisory Commission. And then what ensued was a pause to check in with City Council about what criteria we would use when considering new boards and commissions to offer some framework. That has now happened. Your City Council has now adopted criteria. So in your packet today is a staff report which would apply the lens of the criteria to the proposed Hispanic Advisory Commission. And I'm happy to just essentially take questions, but we would offer essentially a recommendation not to proceed at this time, but instead refresh strategies for increasing participation with the Hispanic and Latino communities and find ways to ensure infusion and active input in your existing 16 boards and commissions and other ways of bringing public input forward. But I'd be happy to walk through this in more detail or take any questions that you might have.
I'm just not reading, I missed it in the.
You're fine.
So-
You are welcome to take your time, and if it helps you to have me walk through, or if you all just want a quiet minute, either way.
Yeah, I could use a moment myself. The proposed categories that are in quotation marks, is that from Mr. Monroy?
Yes,
Okay,
I quoted out of his proposal.
right, that's right. There I see, and that's also attached.
Yeah, we've included his full proposal
Yeah, thank you.
as well, of course.
This is, this is simply a jumping off place, right? We're just getting started. We haven't defined
necessarily how we would increase engagement or involvement.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. I didn't get that far. You could, that would be a great next direction is, okay, how are we gonna get that done? I know there's some current strategies like, Irma, for example, Ciudad Salem, our Spanish Facebook page. But we have the Sunset Viva Salem,
Right.
you know, capacity challenges. And
Right.
so what can we do with the current resources to?
And, you know, that was probably my greatest concern with this was adding more to do, a whole nother board to work with and monitor and engage and all that. It sounds like we already have a lot going on, but if we are not meeting the needs of a particular part of our community, then that's an issue, right? So how do we go about that?
Where are we in terms of sunsetting other boards and committees? So I know there was like the Civil Service Board we were considering. Are there some that we are looking at taking off of staff's plate?
The URA, I think, was under
The URA boards?
So we just passed something about that.
We have been looking at it as part of the governance project. We went out and talked to the different URA boards and probably not surprisingly, they didn't want to be discontinued. And staff looked at it from perspective of when are some of these URA going to be closing anyway. So like, you know, so there's some of them are going to be closing anyway. So it's like,
Right.
it's in a year or 2 years. What's the point of sunsetting them? We have looked at other boards and commissions as far as what their mission is are they meeting regularly? And I don't believe we've really identified any that aren't still serving a purpose that couldn't, there's potential for consolidation among some. You know, with the URA idea, one of the ideas we talked about is having a single URA board, but again, the two of the boards that we'd be consolidating are going to be terminating anyway once the area is closed. So doesn't seem to be a lot of room to consolidate.
Okay.
I can add an additional part of that answer. In addition, at your council meeting, you've directed an annual work plan process where
Right.
boards and commissions would provide work plans, and then the process would outline in the quarter following that work plan, you would have a conversation about kind of an evaluative conversation, and that would be an opportunity to evaluate that particular one and determine if you'd like to recommend it for sunset. So it kind of sets up a process moving forward to take a routine look at all.
That starts after Q1 of next year, is that?
Yeah, we gotta get everybody on a schedule and get it going, yeah.
Very cool.
Well, I understand and certainly recognize the need to support staff bandwidth, but we are going to be, it's a matter of time before we sunset. I don't feel that that would be a sufficient reason to say we don't have the bandwidth to support our Hispanic community in this way. I don't think that that would be a sufficient reason for me to say we shouldn't explore this. When I look at under the staff analysis, you know, I mean, on the one hand, staff recognizes and sees some goal alignment between what we want to do and what Jonathan's proposal is here. And I understand that trying to provide the voice of tens of thousands of people within a single commission is a challenge. And I don't think that's the beauty, however, of the appointment process is that people have terms, they cycle on, they cycle off. You build in term limits so that you don't have one person or a single group of individuals who are there to speak for an entire community. But I do see value in having something that is specific to inviting Hispanic members, because it reminds me of when I served on the Salem Youth Advisory Commission. That was a commission that liaised with City Hall many moons ago. This was back in the 90s. And you had to be a teenager to be on that. And we were a small, like a typical commission. I want to say there were probably 9 or 12 of us. There's no way that all 12 of us could represent the voices of the youth for every single person, whether you were a teenager at South High or West High. West High wasn't even quite yet. I think they were just starting. But anyway, I found that process, it was so inclusive and it felt amazing, like, wow, I'm a teenager and I normally feel like I have no say in my government. I feel like this is not a place where I get to be, let alone do I have an opportunity to utilize city staff resources to convene and have a place with my peers. So it made a big difference to us who are members of that youth commission, and we had good variety of folks participate. And a highlight of that service on the commission, we put together a summit at Laux Auditorium, and we filled the room. It was amazing. And we talked about a wide range of issues affecting teenagers specifically, like teen pregnancy and a variety of other issues that teens care about and that teens are specifically affected by. And it was really, I don't want to say it was beautiful, man, but because that sounds a little cheesy, but it really was. So to me, I see that this is similar. It's another type of group where, yeah, we're looking for folks who meet a specific criteria. And it's not geographic, and it's not whether you're a business owner or a worker or what have you. I think this is really worth exploring. And I like that under this proposal, we would start with listening sessions. I like the idea of this being more crowdsourced in terms of getting feedback for what it would look like and who would be on it and this and that. I understand staff's reticence because of how much you have on your plate. I 100% do. I think if we put this on a work plan of its own, you know, we're not asking you to create it today. I think that if we start, as we start sunsetting others, we start building up towards doing this, that would help address your concerns, Mayor, of staff's bandwidth. But I think we should continue to push forward and look into this. And I'm sorry that I should have told Jonathan that this was on the agenda today, because I'm sure he would have been able to share additional feedback for this point. So I would recommend to my peers today, don't say no just yet, and we really haven't had an opportunity to hear from the folks who would be impacted the most. You know, I would just say that there are opportunities for any member of the community to join our other boards. Yes, this is true. However, I mean, if you look historically, there's not a lot of representation in these other boards and commissions. And I feel that it makes sense, given that nearly a quarter or about a quarter of our residents are Hispanic. I feel that we're ready for them to have a commission where they can provide more input to our mayor, to our council, and to all of our city leaders, really. So I would encourage us to continue looking into this for sure.
So I guess here's my biggest hesitation. I actually like the proposal a little bit. I agree. I don't think it's worth sunsetting the whole idea today. I think to keep the idea open is fine to kind of explore both options. But I'd be interested to know kind of with staff's recommendation here, like the exact part you were saying, what the next steps are is how could we try to encourage and get more of a Hispanic presence on our current boards? Because one of my hesitations is, and maybe there's one I'm just not thinking of, but I can't think of another board that isn't open to everyone by choice, right? If it's a business owner board, if we have a board or commission like that, it's your choice whether you're a business owner, right? It's a decision you make. If when you're a youth, for instance, everybody's a youth at some point, no matter your gender, no matter your race, it doesn't matter. So I have some hesitation to say that we're creating a board that is only available to individuals on something that they and nobody else can control, right? You don't control what your race is. And so I have some hesitation to create a board that singles out and says, we're going to focus on something that is uncontrollable by individuals. But I do think, exactly to your point, there's such a large Hispanic population in our community that their voice should be represented on all of our boards. And so that would be my thought of why I'm still a little hesitant on creating a board solely around the race aspect. I think that's my fear. And so that's why I'm not ready to say let's shut that idea down. I just would like to hear more from staff about what proposals there might be.
Can I speak to that?
Of course.
So I don't think you were saying this, but membership, if this advisory commission were to be created, membership wouldn't be limited to folks who have a Hispanic or Latino background. I do have a concern, from a policy perspective on a particular advisory board that is centered on one particular race and ethnicity. Because I think you may get other races and ethnicity, you know, we have a large Asian population, Pacific Islander population in the city, and do they deserve their own board? Do different religions deserve their own board? I think, you know, we can go down that road pretty quickly. That would be my concern.
And they likely, I would think, have their community groups, right? That could appoint a liaison specifically to the city, maybe a board or commission, or rather than create another commission.
We do now have something called the Equity Roundtable, which it aims at bringing together, kind of as you're describing, people from different, I think they use the term disadvantaged backgrounds or different backgrounds that come together around that table and then advise on different topics. Staff bring, like we brought the library's performance audit to the last meeting, for example, and the members were able to weigh in on conversations, but you'll see kind of a variety of backgrounds on that Equity Roundtable. If that's kind of what you have in mind, we do have that running right now. Eunice Kim is the staff liaison.
I would point out that at the state level, we do have comparable or commissions that are specific. Like there's a women, I forget what it's called, but there's one specific to women. There's, I Googled it, there's an Oregon Commission on Hispanic Affairs. So it's not unheard of to have these that are based around specific groups like this. It may be new for us, but it's not new to the state of Oregon. And there's a way for you to invite people to be a part of that without having a hard request on what's your ethnicity, because that's where you get into legal trouble.
Right.
But it's, anyway, if that helps to distill that, I believe they also have one for Asian affairs. I think that, statewide, there is, we have a lot of those sorts of groups, and we could even take a look in a future meeting, we could take a look at what the Oregon Commission on Hispanic Affairs does and what their strategic goals or priorities, what do they actually do? How do they advise the governor? How is Oregon better off by having these commissions or other special bodies? I think that would be worth looking into. And I don't think it's in Jonathan's materials today, but I mean, he had pointed out to me that other cities have, not many, but some other cities do have Hispanic commissions. I see Councilor Nishioka.
Yeah, Deanna just texted me that she left, and so I'm stepping up to the table.
Welcome. I mean, I don't know where everyone else is sitting. Like I say, I'm not ready to say no to this today by any means, but I like the idea of at least pushing this off to be able to hear more about what staff can come up with on how to engage that community into our current boards, and then from there we decide whether we move forward with having its own individual board or move forward with just the proposals on how to engage more. Because I honestly don't know at this point, from my perspective, of which one I would vote on. But that's just me.
I'm also trying to think of where the liaison for this commission would live within the city, because this isn't something we necessarily have a big stable of folks to work on. So, through the city manager's office, is it something community services, Parks Center 50+ related? And I'm thinking of their current responsibilities and the comment before, which we had 4 of you. I wish we did.
I wish we did too. We could use more liaisons for boards and commissions for sure.
Well, I'll chime in. I read the report. I read the recommendation. I actually agree with your recommendation that we explore the possibilities of trying to make sure that there's opportunities within the other boards, and in the meantime, looking at what other cities are doing, so that I think, to Dan's point, because I can see that the Micronesian would say, well, we want ours now. And so I think we need to be prepared for that. So it might be helpful if other cities have some policies in place that indicate how they decide. I think with the URAs that might be closing, and that just kind of takes some of the responsibility of meeting times and staff time. I do like the proposal that Jonathan brought forward. I think we just need to explore it more.
I wouldn't be ready to hang your hat on increased staff capacity from the URA advisory board's closing, but that's
That's
one
true.
person
Yes,
in the city who gets paid through the URA.
and
For Virginia
again,
knows.
I wasn't trying to indicate, I'm
No,
just
but
trying to
that's
say.
mentioned a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's because we're already looking at what might possibly end and then what flexibility there would be, but you're right, the ORA is not really the one that's flexible to all of a sudden have space and staff available. But I just feel, I appreciated the recommendation, and I also really appreciated the request from Jonathan. I think it's valid, but it really opens up more, how do we approach this and how do we manage it? I would encourage, the equity roundtable has a fair amount of, I'm the liaison that, has a fair amount of Hispanic presence. And so I think that would be an opportunity if others wanted to be there. And I think encouraging them to maybe participate in applying for some of the others would also be an opportunity to find a way to interact with that specific area.
I don't know much about the Equity Roundtable. Is that appointed by the mayor? Is that a temporary task force? It's not of the same caliber as our other boards and committees,
It is
right?
not.
Yeah, it's not. I should do some homework before fully answering your question. I understand that the members are sourced partially from input from the existing membership. It's not in SRC, and it's not appointed by the mayor or appointed by council.
It's possible to help us, navigate this, because I think that it makes, do we want more representation? And would it be nice to have dozens of people vying for, opportunities within our existing boards and committees from all different backgrounds? That would be amazing. Would it make sense to ask for Human Rights Commission's thoughts on this? I mean, this to me, because I can see some potential overlap. In fact, I think, if I remember correctly, there was some suggestion like, well, maybe this would be like a subset of Human Rights Commission. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out here. This seems to me that the Equity Roundtable, this could be something that could be added to their agenda to solicit their feedback, because we're looking at a brand new concept. New concepts can be scary if we've not done them before. But we have, we can take our time
Is it written
and solicit
somewhere?
input.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Is
that's
it
fine.
written somewhere what the equity roundtable is?
Yes, and there's a webpage, and so that's one thing we can locate for you and send to you. Yeah, I might even be able to call it up here and share it, if you'd like me to do that.
I don't know if now is the time. I mean, I'm
We can
happy to
bring
look,
back
but-
the information, sure.
Yeah,
But I do feel like this is something that you could add to the Equity Roundtable's agenda and ask them for their opinion. Should we have a separate commission, or should we instead focus, as staff recommends, on refreshing strategies for increasing participation? I think it would be helpful to go outside of this tiny little body of just a handful of individuals, none of whom are Hispanic, I think it's worth pointing out, to see how others might feel about this.
I think that, Gretchen, you visited the last time. I think there would definitely have to be some very specific questions and parameters, because as many of the meetings go, a lot of thoughts come in without a lot of direction.
Okay, yeah, I trust your judgment on that one. I've been in committees like that before. Some very specifics can be helpful for sure. Yeah, okay.
Copy that. We'll bring back some information.
is it the Arts Commission? We just had a recent person appointed to that. Is that right? Jesus
Yes.
Escobar, I think, yeah. And I don't, to me, that felt like new, like has there been a history of Hispanic involvement in the Arts Commission, or?
I'm trying to think. I think there has been, but it's not like, here I am. It would be more that they fit in. I think there has been, but maybe not. by
Anyway, I
committee.
just felt that that's a point of encouragement, you know, that we are having some involvement that isn't usual in some spaces, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
We are trying, and having served on this committee previously, have been working, as Councilor Nordyke will say, we're trying to encourage a variety of ages, you know, diversity for all of the boards and commissions. So it's good when we see that happen.
Awesome. So do you need something from us on this today?
No, I think that I've noted questions, including what would that community engagement look like? What the Oregon Commission on Hispanic Affairs does and how do they add value? What do other cities do? How do other cities, what their policies are for sorting? And Equity Roundtable's view,
Yeah.
perhaps HRC's thoughts too.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful to hear from both of those groups. I have a feeling they would both have opinions.
Well, with that last one, with the Equity Roundtable, I guess that also, because I'm uneducated about exactly what their role is. So I'd like to know more about their role in
You bet.
comparison to the Human Rights Commission we have.
It's very
different. Okay.
Yeah, and on that, maybe Linda, if you wouldn't mind, I'll ask you to send out that webpage so folks get an initial peek at that before the next meeting.
Made it up to myself
Very good.
already.
Very good.
All right.
A lot of times what I feel it is they're bringing information on how like if the discussion is on transportation, how something in transportation could support their neighborhood, their community. And so they provide input on a very local basis. And we've talked about housing and transit and how important that is. So a lot of times it's more making sure that we are hearing how transit is very important to certain areas. And not that we have anything to do with the buses. But and then again, when the library, about their input on the library, where might it help the library serve communities? It's more about, these are the things that they see in their neighborhoods and what some of our departments might be able to do to help them.
All right,
Was that pretty good? Was that pretty good?
Yeah, it was, and yes, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
issues.
And usually we have issues that are being discussed, yes.
All right, then, moving on to the board and commission reappointment requests. We
I move to reappoint the slate.
I did, second.
Discussion on vote?
I did have a question. So Nathan Levin, is that the same Nathan Levin that was just appointed to planning commission?
He is a very busy and very dedicated volunteer.
Okay.
And yes, he is one and the same. He is also on the North Gateway Redevelopment Advisory Board. So he is on 3.
Is he going for council?
For the next 5 hours, looking for a sub. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so he's on one of the URAs that are, will be sunsetting.
That is
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
The North
So he'll
Gateway.
He'd be,
Okay.
so he's probably looking for more work.
Hey, yeah. All right, that's good.
Good deal. So, we have a motion and a second, and all in favor?
I
Aye. Good deal. Motion passed. Oh, any opposed? No. And all in favor, I'm sorry, the motion passes. So is that everything?
That's
For the agenda? Then we got adjourned. Woohoo, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.